Okay, so the next part, this is number 10, I believe, is on angles. So we're finally to the trig stuff. Finally, the stuff we've been doing the past month or two. So they're going to give you an angle theta. For me, for my example, they gave me 315 degrees. It is definitely on my unit circle. That should be a good thing. The first thing they asked me to do is sketch it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make myself an XY axis, and then I'm going to do an arch. It goes all the way past 180, past 270, and stops at 315, or whereabout I think that would be on the circle. And then I draw a little ray right there. Okay? All right, so I got my drawing. It says determine the reference angle. So reference angle is something that's very useful at the beginning of making your unit circle, but then we don't really use it all that much after that. So what it is it's an angle made between the x-axis and theta. So the x-axis has two parts to it that are important. Okay, the x-axis has 180 degrees and it has 360 degrees, and I need to decide which one my angle is closer to. In our case, 360 degrees is closer. So what I will do is I'll take 360 and 315 and find the difference between them. Okay, it is okay to switch the order up. So like if I had 200, I would still do 200 minus 180, okay? It doesn't matter whether it's negative or positive, you just need the difference between them. So it's going to be 45. All right, converting it to radians. If I had my unit circle memorized, I don't even have to do this. But if you don't have your unit circle memorized, what you're going to do is take your angle and multiply it by pi over 180. And remember, 180 and pi are the same location on your circle. So you're not actually going to get me a decimal. You're going to leave the pi. You're going to have 315 over 180, and then you're going to reduce. You can use the calculator to do it, or you can do it yourself. Okay, 315 over 180. You type that in, 315 over 180. Leave the pi out of it. The pi is like your purse or your wallet. It goes along for the ride. You're going to reduce your fraction. And I get 7/4. And that's what I would get if I went to my circle and found the answer anyway. It's 7 pi over 4. All right. Last thing on the angle stuff. It's going to ask you for the exact 6 trig ratios. So first off, you're going to need to remember SO, CA, TOA, sine, cosine, tangent, and CHO, CHA, COW. That's cosecant, secant, and cotangent. They are reciprocals of one another, and so that I will use to my advantage, okay? So I know my unit circle, okay? So if you don't, you're going to have to consider putting that on your index cards. And so what you're going to do is you're going to get the coordinate from your circle. So I went to the unit circle, and the coordinate is actually square root of 2 over 2, comma, negative square root of 2 over 2. Remember that the unit circle stores sine and cosine for you. Cosine is the x value, so the cosine of 315 is square root of 2 over 2, and sine is the y value, so it's going to be negative square root of 2 over 2. All right, what it also gives you is the opposite, the adjacent, and the hypotenuse, which forms that little catchphrase, SOHCAHTOA and CHO, CHA, COW. Okay? Cosine is the CA and SOHCAHTOA, so it gives you the adjacent and the hypotenuse. So for me, my adjacent is square root of 2, and my hypotenuse is 2. Sine is the SO, opposite and hypotenuse. So the opposite will be negative root 2, and just like I thought it was, the hypotenuse is 2. Now I can construct the rest. So tangent of 315 will be the opposite over the adjacent, the TOA. So negative square root of 2 over positive square root of 2. Anything that's the same in the numerator and denominator gives you 1. So this will be negative 1. Okay? All right. Cotangent is just the flip of that, guys, so it'll be negative 1 also. CHO is cosecant. Cosecant is the flip of sine, okay? It's the CHO goes with the SO, okay? So I'm going to take sine and I'm going to flip it over, okay? Or in other words, I'm going to do the hypotenuse over the adjacent. Remember, you have to get your square root out of your denominator. And so I end up with actually negative root 2 once I do that. Secant is the reciprocal or the flip of cosine. It's the sha and the ka that go together. So you're just going to take cosine, which is square root of 2 over 2, flip that over, 2 over root 2, and again, get the square root out of the denominator. It'll be root 2 once you reduce it down. All right, that's the trig slide. Getting towards the end of the review. Hopefully that helped. This should be much more familiar because we did this pretty much in February and March. Okay?